Greetings, Darklings, from across the interwebs. It is once again I, the Duchess, Precious Ken. We are back here for the Sounds and Shadows podcast. I am very excited. We have wonderful, amazing guests, but we'll get to that in a moment. I just got back from Cold Waves last weekend, and it was a life-affirming, wonderful experience. So I didn't get mailed anything as an unboxing, but I did pick up a few items, and I'll talk about them in the next couple podcasts, one of which our dear friend Jim from Pittsburgh. I got 2 of the electronic saviors. And if you don't know about this project, I think it's on the 7th one that he's done, 6th or 7th one, but he uses this. He was a cancer survivor and raises an inordinate, it's a huge amount of money for cancer research. And it's a wonderful project and a great thing to have. And these are like 4 CD box sets with everybody in industrial and electronic music on it. Just so many great names and so many great songs. So I picked up 2 of these that I didn't have. I already had 2 of them. So I got 4 and number 1, the first one. Okay. So I highly recommend to everybody go take a look at those and check them out. And then I'm rocking my Boot Black shirt, who I got to see there live, put on an amazing performance and got to hang out with those folks. So be excited for that, everybody. I'll put a link down below for Electronic Savers. Great stuff. Okay, I have a couple of our wonderful dear friends here who have an exciting new project that I've really been into out on COP Records. And I would like to introduce Jean-Marc Lederman and Emileigh Rohn. Welcome, my friends.
Hi, I'm Emileigh. I just spell it weird.
That's my bad. That's
Thanks, Ken.
Hello, guys.
Been that kind of morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
It's evening here, but it's okay. Good morning.
That's true. And Jean-Marc, you have some amazing headgear going on.
Just wet hair. It's just wet
that's
hair.
just your hair. That's just how you're styling it these days. That's awesome.
Well, I mean, it's wet hair and it's so windy over here for the moment, but it's okay.
All right. So let's start out by telling me briefly a little bit of your history and what led up to this project of you guys working together. Now, we've done a long one of this for you before, Jean-Marc. So just hit me a little bit on some of the projects you've done in music and why you were excited to get to work with Emileigh on this one.
Okay, I'm going to try to wrap this up really quickly. I'm a seasoned music composer, as they say politely. And here I lose my earbuds. I've been playing with Fat Gadget, The, Gene Love Jezebel. I wrote a song for a huge French rock star called Alain Bachung. And I was in the band with Frank Spinaff from Seabound. The band is called Ghost and Rider. And actually we were on one of those Electronic Saviors CD.
Oh, wonderful.
And I've been starting to do albums of which I call Jean-Marc Lederman Experience, in which I write all the music and send it to singers. And the albums have always a common theme.
Yeah.
And for the last one, which was Letters to Gods and Letters to Gods.
And Fallen Angels, yes.
Yeah. I asked Rex Arcana to give me a few names of people that he liked, and he said, "Oh, you should check Chiasm." Took me about 5 minutes to spell it right, and then and then I checked Emilie's website and videos, and I thought, "Oh, that's a great voice. Let's contact Emileigh." I contacted her, and she was really happy to contribute. She did a song on something I sent to her, and then I had to redo it.
I know how that is. I've seen that before.
Yeah, I've seen that before. I know, but I'm used to that. But the thing is, singers usually hate it.
Sure.
And Emileigh was totally game, and she really enjoyed what I did with the new musical background. And I thought, oh, that's very, that's special. So let's see. how that goes. And a few months later, I asked her if she wanted to try to do some tracks together. And this is how we started.
That's awesome. And yes, I mean, so wonderful kind of spelling out there some of your legendary career. And that
oh yeah, but I was sacked by all of them. I think you should know. Let's be honest.
That album was on, I'm trying to remember what year it was, but was on our top albums of the year list. For anybody who hasn't gone to check that out, Letters to Gods and Fallen Angels, you really have to. There's a ton of wonderful vocal performances there on the compositions that Jean-Marc did. Everybody needs to check that out. But one of my favorite tracks off it was the one that Emileigh sang on. I absolutely,
really?
I love that song. I played it all, and that's the same way that it led me to Chiasm and you know, playing some of your other music there. So when I heard when Jean-Marc, you know, here's the other thing. I talked to Jean-Marc a fair amount in DMs, and we talked back and forth. And when I heard how excited he was for this project, it really got me fired up, because the way I mean, with everybody that he's worked with and all the things he did, and he was saying to me, Ken, I feel like this is one of the most important albums I've ever made. And the excitement of it, I was like, I need to hear this. I can't wait. So tell me a little bit, because we're kind of hometown buddies. We're both from Michigan. So that's exciting. Tell me a little bit about your history leading up to this, and how you formed up with Jean-Marc.
Well, I was just thinking, everything sounds so concise in hindsight, but of course it never works. I mean, it's a lot more convoluted than, you know, than it seems at first. But yeah, no, really working with him has just been this creative explosion. Honestly, it's been just so inspiring to work with him. I don't even know how to describe it. So that's why we have 15 tracks on Venus Chariot, and then another 6-track secret EP, and then there's more tracks that are still unreleased. It just keeps going and going and going. And then on top of that, I'm working on my own solo stuff again, and it's just, I mean, it's been great. So we just we just continue. But yeah, basically I met him when he made the request for the Letters to Gods vocals. And I had to look him up because I had no idea who he was. And then I was so impressed. I was like, oh, well, I should absolutely know who he is. I just did it, you know. So it just made a ton of sense, and it was great. And it came at the right time because I had just finished doing that album with John Fryer when Jean-Marc was like, okay, I have time to do stuff. I was like, let's just do it. And then the COVID lockdown had just started. Yeah. So the timing for all of that worked out really well, because I work in the laboratory at the university on COVID. So there was a little bit of time that I had extra at home while they were figuring out what all the rules would be, because I've just been going to work like normal, you know, this whole time where everybody else was just transitioning to home. So I had the extra time there. And then, yeah, it's worked perfectly, you know, to have the time, and then, yeah, it's been great. So, but we're just going to keep going with it because obviously it's been fantastic.
That's great. And I think a big thing, especially when you're talking about that, you know, the difference in today, where you can really do this, where you can have, you know, Jean-Marc in Belgium and you over here in Michigan, but still be able to work on a very interactive, creative project of just, you know, using a Dropbox, sending stuff back and, hey, I made this change. What did you do? Where, you know, in the past, that would have involved a lot of reel-to-reel tape being sent through the mail.
It's even worse than that. When I started making music, which is sometime near the 17th century, if you wanted to do music, you had to go through your record company and ask them and begging them for studio time. Yeah. And having and getting clearance to do something like this. And then you had no control, because they say, okay, well, do you have a skeleton? But you couldn't record anything. So, or you were recording on a small cassette, and you were banded over with the producer and the desire of the label manager. So now, yeah, technically it's amazing, but it's also on the freedom side, because you really have the possibility to record whatever you want, however you want. So that's also a novelty. Plus the fact that now, everybody has more or less a recording studio at home. So it's really easy to do something. And the fact that I'm living 6 hours ahead means that when I wake up, I've got some work that Emileigh done the night before. And when she gets up the day after, she does the mix. So it's kind of a role. It's kind of a amazing, just
the timing works perfectly.
Steamer engine,
do something at night, send it over. She wakes up, it's there. Whenever I think about that, there was a band called Dolly's Car. I don't know if but it was a combination of, it was Peter Murphy and David Sylvian from Japan.
A little story. Peter Murphy slept in my mother's bed.
What?
But I'd like to say to the people, she wasn't in the bed. Okay, go on.
But anyhow, I remember like hearing about it, where they wanted to do this project, and I love that album. They really only, I think, had like the one album they did. I have it on LP, but that was 100%. It was them sometimes like 2, 3, 4 weeks just sending reel-to-reel tape back and forth to each other in this kind of fever dream madness to put this album together. And so that always, I love the idea that like now this can happen and you guys have that. Another thing we brought up when we were talking about this was how a record label can make that difficult, when you're wanting to work with someone maybe outside of the label or something like that. But with the things you've done with John Fryer lately, Emileigh, and working with COP, how has that been as a process to facilitate? Do you feel like that actually has helped the creativity on it being kind of on the same label and working together on it?
Well, I'm not really sure, because working with John Fryer, that was the label's idea, because I had just finished my Reset album and I wasn't sure what I wanted to do next and all of that. And then it just sort of like the opportunity landed and I was like, okay, let's try this. And it actually, it was a great learning experience because it taught me to work much faster, not to overthink things, all of that. And so once that was finished, I had that momentum going where I kind of still wanted to just work with someone else. And then working with Jean-Marc, that we could sort of found each other on like outside of that. And then we reapproached COP and we're like, maybe we could do this here. I don't know, And they seemed to like it. And it was like, okay, so we'll just roll with that. And then that happened. And that's been a great working relationship too, to just get everything out there. It's very cohesive and works nicely. So yeah, that's
wonderful.
How that went.
I've heard really good things about the way they've given freedom to artists on that label in particular, from people who, like Stephen Archer and other friends of mine there that have worked with a lot of labels over time, and in just the way he talks about, this is what I've wanted from a label for a long time in terms of creative freedom and so on and so forth. So, I love seeing like a team up like that of putting the two of you together and getting to work in one cohesive unit on it and continue to release material.
Well, that's something I always liked even with my solo work, was they never tried to intrude too much. They were like, you make your art, you do what you want to do. We're not going to tell you what to sound like. This is your thing. And they seem to respect and appreciate that. That's kind of like the whole point, is to make something different. So that's what I've liked about being on the label, honestly. Yeah.
So Jean-Marc, I want to ask you, because one of the things I love about your material so much is how much thought and intent you put into the packaging, the art, the things that go with the music. Whether it was with the book going along with it, or rather on, Letters to Gods and Fallen Angels and the artwork with it. You guys had, for this album, Venus Chariot, a really cool, distinctive cover art that I really like, the striking blue, and I think it matches the music well. How did this come about, and how do you think the art kind of plays into the music that you've created?
Well, we had from the beginning a kind of mood board we were working on, each one of us, and we were putting things on the side that were making us thinking about the music and our way of doing things. And one of them was where we realized very quickly that all our tracks were like roller coaster of emotions, like going up and then going down, and very up and very down, and very a bit aggressive or angry, and then just hopeful. So we started doing research on what kind of image comes out of roller coaster of emotions. And we found out that there's in Japan a roller coaster called Apollo's Chariot.
Okay.
And
that's an actual roller coaster. I didn't know that.
That was interesting. So we looked more for it, and we thought, well, the album is quite feminine. So what about Venus Chariot? So there was Venus Chariot, and we started doing research on Venus Chariot. And Venus Chariot is the name of a flower which is totally beautiful and blue, which is Emileigh's favorite color and mine too.
That's awesome.
The interesting point about the Venus Chariot plant is that it's poisonous. It's beautiful, but it's very dangerous.
Like so many things in life.
Like so many things in life, especially on Sundays. So it was still going on with this kind of roller coaster of things, like having one thing and its opposite. So this is why we started working on that. And Venus Chariot, when you start to look for it, it's the name of a specific type of sculpture, which is Venus, the woman, on a chariot with 4 horses. And so it all came together quite naturally. We gave the ideas and the mood board to Greg, and Greg found one of those quadriga, it's called quadriga, in St. Petersburg, and he put it blue, and it just happened. You know, one of the things about making music or making art is especially not overthinking about it. You can have fun thinking about it, but don't try to split it in micro moments or micro ideas. Just go for it. Just let it go.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that really works well with it. And I love about Greg's art in general. He does a lot of album covers right now and is really doing, I got to meet him at Cold Waves and hang out with him. But the idea of having that subtlety, having some of this, there is a meaning here, an intent, a research that went on, but not diving so deep that you lose the core concept. And I love the idea that kind of just like this album, it has a lot of subtlety to it, a lot of things to pick up, but it also is a big, fun emotion that happens. Like this record, I've been using it a lot for like when I go on a walk or I'm working out, or it really is like when I need some energy, a refill, it's very uplifting. It is for, in some ways a darker electronic sound to some of it, but it still just infuses me and gets me going when I need to get jumping during the day. And I think the album cover goes along with that. And now that I hear that, I mean, I knew Venus and I like Roman and Greek mythology a lot, but when I hear the story and think about that from the Chariot, that makes a lot of sense. And I picture, like rolling across the sky, in the morning in her chariot, and Venus was the Roman one of love, correct?
Yeah, but she's also quite, as everything in mythology, she is what she is and her opposite. So she's, it's love, but it's not falling for, it's fighting for. It is putting your stand and putting your foot when you need to. So that's a strong goddess. That's not some kind of, And
I remember too that she kind of had quite a few run-ins with sort of the petty one on it, but the version of Hera, the Roman version of Hera.
I'm not reading TMZ gods, so I don't know.
That would I would like to read that. That would make a great show as TMZ God. Someone should throw that cartoon together. So I think it's really exciting. Tell me a little bit more about, because I don't know, you brought together this concept, you had the art and the idea then. how did the music start to evolve to get across this core theme? What were you like writing lyrics, Emileigh, and bringing them back, or did it start out with Jean-Marc doing music and then sending it to you? What was kind of the process of how you guys got rolling on this?
So he would write these skeleton tracks for me, and then I would go ahead and write lyrics and attempt to write melodies to them. But actually those two things were very different processes for me, because I tend to write just like everything is just very personal in my lyrics. So I'm just writing how I'm feeling constantly. I'm just like making notes in my phone or whatever, or writing with pen down. And then I go back, I reapproach it later. And so I would listen to his skeleton tracks, be like, okay, this sort of fits with that mood, or that fits with that mood. And then also I would like, since I was going back and forth to work and everything, basically my setup is I would play the skeleton tracks through iTunes on my car, and then have an extra phone to take voice memos while I would just kind of like sing along melodies.
Yeah.
And so then I could go back to it later and be like, okay, this goes with this song and this goes with this song. And then I just it's like a puzzle, I just assemble it all back together.
I need to steal that. Like, yeah, that's a great idea.
Well. It works really well.
Because I do find that, like when Colin and I will work on a track, we'll get the bones and maybe I'll lay down some rough lyrics just at the time, but then I go back and rewrite them. But it's always in my car. Like my best writing is always driving in the car playing it.
If you want it to work,
to take notes.
If you want it to work, you need to buy a Hyundai, like it doesn't work, the cars. She tried in Toyota, but it's really bad.
The acoustics just aren't the same in the Toyota.
Yeah.
That's a great, I'm going to start doing that. I'm going to get a little memo recorder and just hit record when I'm driving along so that I can come up with these, because I usually forget them.
Yeah, it's so much more natural that way. And then you're not like forcing it. It just makes so much more sense, musical sense, I think. So then I would come home and then I'd be like, okay, this weekend I'm going to actually record the vocals. And then I would send it to him. And then he would usually kind of like rearrange some instruments and the order of things a bit too. And then we'd have this new song and then we'd be like, okay, I like this or don't like this, and adjust from there. But yeah. And so then, for how the album actually came together, like the name Venus Chariot came way after we had finished, I don't know, at least the first 10 tracks, because originally we were like, okay, we've got 10 that are perfect and a few more that we could add, and we've got one album. And then we just wanted to keep writing. And so we actually started what we thought was going to be a second album. And then we decided to just kind of combine, because we didn't want to wait to put it out, I think is what it was. We're like, okay, let's just put out this whole collection. We've got so much, we want to keep going. Let's not just, postpone things. Let's just do this. And so, and so the name was there. And then, so we have a 15-track album and a 6-track EP.
Yeah.
That's how. But yeah, so the name came later, but I think it still represents, everything that we're like with the whole roller coaster and the sort of like space. Because for me, like, it was more about like the planet Venus and like flying a spaceship to Venus and all this stuff. But then it became this Roman goddess thing too. So
I like that. I didn't think about that. You're more of a sci-fi theme than a Roman mythology theme. That's
The first person who pronounced dystopian has to go out for 5 minutes, okay?
Well, no, see, I didn't think dystopian when I heard it, because again, I don't know, this record, when I hear it, it really isn't dystopian or that it's very hopeful. And so I think more of kind of almost, now that I hear that, like a Star Trek kind of ideal of like exploring the highest concepts of what humanity is capable of, or something like that. Because when I listen to this, some stuff I do listen to on purpose to go to a dark place and reflect. This is not that. This is when I need energy to be hopeful, because maybe I'm in a dark place, this is the record that I go to, and I think it has much more of that flavor. So now I think I'm going to start watching old Star Trek episodes or Next Generation and replacing this as the soundtrack. I'll just mute it and watch Sean Jean-Luc, and
it's logical. Yeah, it's totally logical. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, so wait a minute. Now this leads into something else. That's what it. Since I'm learning that about you, I'm like, do you have like a sci-fi or something fandom that you're really into that you enjoy?
Don't go there.
I'm ready to go there. I want it. People want to know, Jean-Marc.
Yeah.
We totally crazy about sci-fi.
So what is your favorite sci-fi series? Because mine is getting ready to come out with a movie right now.
Oh.
I'm very frightened they're going to jack up, but I'm hopeful that they won't. And that's Dune. That's my favorite.
Oh,
I'm a big Dune fan. And so I'm hoping this new movie finally gets it, because the original movie had the aesthetic, in my opinion, David Lynch. And then the TV show on the sci-fi show had the true to the book story, but the aesthetics of it were pretty weak in the effects. So I'm hoping this is finally the one where they put it all together. So
That's
each
exciting.
of you, what is your favorite sci-fi, either novel, book series or TV show? Or
right. Well, I'm all Star Trek Next Generation. I've got the
Nice.
whole series on DVD, and I go back to it and rewatch it like all the time. It's just always there.
I'm a big fan too. Have you watched the newest ones, the Discovery or?
I have. I mean, they were nice. It's a completely different beast, I think.
It is,
but I still enjoy them.
I liked them too. Some people, had issue with it, but then again, I feel like that always happens. Like the Next Generation came out, and the fans all panned it in the beginning, and then a little time went by, and it became one of the greatest. And then Deep Space Nine, the same thing, and a little time went. So I feel like this might. Jean-Marc has another take on that.
I like DS9.
DS9's my favorite. That's my favorite.
I do too. I enjoy it too.
Jean-Marc's about to get us both now.
My favorite is Voyager.
Oh, okay. I think you're
wrong. For several reasons, because I think it's about time to kill that patriarchy.
Oh.
And I think Catherine Mulgrew was an amazing captain. I really liked some of the second character. I was young at the time, so obviously I really liked 7 of 9.
Yep. Very cool. She's in the new Picard one.
Yeah,
show.
And I really like Discovery, the new series. I think it's extremely coherent with the times.
I agree. I think it took a little while to get going. But like the first season, they were kind of fine. It's always that for Star Trek.
And I didn't like Picard, because Picard is fan service. You can really feel, okay, now we're going to get Jonathan Frakes in it. And now we're going,
true.
And so that's not, I'm totally not into nostalgia. So I'm kind of looking at it and say, oh God, I mean, why trying, why you're ripping the old souvenirs off,
True. I enjoyed Picard, but I think it's just, I thought of it wasn't Star Trek. It was, what if you took a spy novel and put it in the Star Trek world? And I was like, well, I like spy novels and I like Star Trek, so okay, this works. And so I just thought of it like that. But you're right, it definitely, Gene Roddenberry probably would have rolled over in his grave.
Yeah, and about Dune, I would like to say I think one of the best science fiction movie ever done is Arrival.
Oh, yes, that's a very good one. Yeah.
For several reasons. First, and it's a common line with me, I suppose, and yes, it is. If you think about the movie Arrival, everybody is clueless, except the woman. But everybody is totally clueless. She's the only one
gaslighting the crap out of her. Yeah.
And I think that Gilles Villeneuve had a great, visually, it was amazing. The pitch is totally new in science fiction. I mean, nobody ever took the idea of, okay, when we meet, in fact, the only problem is going to be, how can we communicate? And if we need to communicate, we need to understand exactly what they are about. So I thought that was very deep, very strong. And I'm not looking forward to go and see Dune, because I love the book. And I'm just not interested in however good Gilles Villeneuve is. I I'm not interested in saying that on the movie. It's a book thing.
Yeah.
It's something you get into your bed, you've got your tablet of chocolate, you've got light Coke or a glass of wine, and you read it for days and days. Not 2 hours with other people saying on your left and somebody going up on the right. No, so no way for me.
I agree. That is one of the things that scares me. Is I think Dune is one of the most complex science fiction out, kind of like a George R. R. Martin in the books, Game of Thrones. It was, I mean, they had a show, so they had more time, but you're still just going to be rushing too many really important, intricate details. There was too much political overlap and things, and that's hard to explain in a 2-hour movie. Whereas, but I don't know, I think maybe they're going to do more than one movie of it. So maybe it's not going to all be in one go. I'm not sure.
Yeah, but, I mean, it's
still,
obviously,
you're right.
It's obviously going for the franchise. But the thing is, when I read the book, I was walking in the desert and I could feel the warmth of the desert.
Yeah.
I don't want to go into a fog in a movie theater. I want the same. I want to be able to feel the same, and I know that however good it is, it's not going to be as good as when I was reading it, and so I leave that souvenir there.
Yeah, that book really does for me, and you know, I read it when I was very young the first time. I think I've read it 20 times in my life, that series, and it has a powerful spirituality to it.
Totally.
And part of that does involve, an elemental aspect of the heat and the desert and the, you know, feeling it. And you're right. I think that might be something that's very hard for them to translate, but I haven't seen it yet. So I'm going to keep an open mind up until
Good for you. Good for you.
All right. So that was fun. We went on a good sci-fi tangent. That was good. Let me come back a little bit. Emileigh, you just went to Cold Waves, and that was a really exciting experience, I know, for me, and then probably for you too. We're a music review page. I always like to kind of ask, what is it that you're inspired by or listening to? Because I think that helps paint the picture of you as an artist. So was there something that you saw there, a band maybe you didn't know, or this last weekend that really captured you or inspired you?
Actually, I had never listened to the Barker-Conley combination before, and that was impressive. It was super impressive. That, and I thought Consolidated put on an awesome show too. So those two, both, were most impressive to me.
I missed that Consolidated show. We didn't get in until Saturday, and I used to listen to that band when I was in high school, like 16. I was really, really into Consolidated because it was just, I think they're one of the most politically charged bands of that era. They really are very forward with their far left politics, and always was. And, you know, you talk about punk rock and kind of the ethos there, but they really did it in a very intelligent way, where it wasn't like a Johnny Lydon being like, fuck everything, fuck the system, you know, but there was no further discussion or anything of, well, after we fuck the system, what would we do about it?
Exactly.
And Consolidated to me was always that. They were talking about a plan of like what you would do with your life. So I was so bummed. I'm jealous that you got to see that one. That's great. And I mean, Parker and Conley, I mean, those are two legends, and they looked like they were having so much fun. I think that was the biggest part for me, is they could have done this being very serious about the performance. Everyone was very into it, but really what it was is it was two old friends just having a good time and everybody into it. And that's what I think was so electric about that.
Yeah.
With the Lederman, we played in Berkeley with Consolidated.
Really?
Yeah. And so that was a very political bill, because the Lederman were very political.
Same, yeah.
And they killed us totally. We were so good. Anyway, a great band and great angle. And you know, I like bands that are talking about things that do matter more than hey baby, let's go back to my place tonight.
I mean, not that that doesn't matter sometimes, but you're right. I love they always were like that. I mean, they were very adamant and actually lived it as vegans, and were very strong animal rights activists.
Yeah.
They were I think they were sharps too. They were straight edge and were very open about, you know, keep your mind sharp so that you can carry on this fight. And I just remember it, yeah, like 16, thinking, where is this? And these guys are really putting their money where their mouth is and living it at the same time as talking about it. So I always thought they were really cool. And that's awesome, Jean-Marc. I didn't know that, yeah, you played at the same time and doing a show with them. I heard from that show, I talked to some people backstage, and they're saying that they are going to come back and try and do more shows and come out and be active again, which would be awesome, because that was, I think, the band I was most bummed that I missed from Thursday and Friday that I really wanted to see. So,
you know, and I think also it's very important bands like Consolidated, not because they're old, because there are other bands, new bands that do go into that area.
sure.
But I really like it when a band comes out of talking just about himself and look at the big picture. And that's
Yes.
very important. And if you take the European bands, the future pop bands or bands like that, they're all into kind of stupid hedonism, and they don't talk about what's happening outside of the recording studio or outside of being on stage or on tour. And
Sure.
I think it's very important that some bands, maybe not all of them, but some bands do care about, okay, let me paint to you what's happening outside of your place.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, when you're making music, when you're making a song, you're sending a message to somebody. And it's important that this message, if it's about love, it's about love. But if it's about
Sure.
politics, it's about politics.
Yeah, no, I agree with that 100%. I think there's a place for a lot of different things, but it's really hard to do. I think especially in today's climate, right, where it's difficult to wear your politics on your sleeve and not get into trouble with someone, like have some, you know, people coming back at you because things are so charged right now. And it takes a lot of courage, I think, to put yourself open like that and live your ideals and go with it. And when a band does it, though, and does it properly, it's so powerful, because I think people do, whether you agree with it or not, respect the courage of putting that out there. Okay, so
Yes.
I know we got heavy there. That was good. No, that was a good discussion.
Wow. Okay.
All right. I want to ask you guys now, you keep putting out material and doing this, and it seems like this is a real partnership for, you know, creative expression. What's are you looking forward to in the future? Do you guys have another plan for another album coming up, or are you going to work on some other things for a while? Tell me about what we should be excited for if we did an interview with you guys next year. What are we going to be talking about?
Well, let's see. We don't have like an album totally in the works yet, because I'm
Sure.
trying to get some chiasm stuff done first.
Mhm.
So I'll do that. But we've got, you know, some one-off songs here and there for EPs that we're sort of working on, and some remixes of tracks that are on Venus Chariot. And so we're going to keep continuing to create and release stuff.
Are you going to give us a crumb here? Are you going to drop us a name of maybe one of the remixes that might be coming out soon? Or will you get in trouble?
I don't know.
No,
I think my remix, I'm renaming. Go ahead, Jean-Marc.
Well, I think we can say there's Safira V.
Ooh.
Was done a really
Dear
nice
friend of
remix.
mine loves Safira, and she does great remixes.
And there's Grab Your Face.
I love Marie, and Grab Your Face, I think just has, like we talked about, you know, as somebody who really puts it out there, they have, like, to me, just one of those sounds when they do lyrics of just slicing a vein open and just letting every aspect of their psyche right into your living room when you listen to them. I love their style.
Absolutely. And there's Juxista, the lady in Juxista. And in fact, there's also Emileigh, we will do a remix. And it's a remix EP on which there are only women remixing.
That's awesome. I love that. Yeah, that is stuff to be excited for.
I think
All right.
I think it is. I think it is. I mean, let's kill, let's kill ideas. Most of the time people think, oh yeah, the pretty lady, she's the singer. No, she's the composer, she's the lyricist, she's the remixer, and she's the producer. Right. And fuck you.
I think that's one of the things that really is important and happening right now that is changing, is seeing more women producers. Because just to the point that you made, it used to be, going back to like Madonna or something, that you had your creativity stifled, I think, as a woman, because at the end of the day, you were going to have to deal with some dude and his studio at some point. And now that just isn't the case. And you're seeing like, Anya, Ayatoya, and just a lot of these, or Safira, a lot of women producers going forward and having creative control over every aspect of their process.
And Emileigh
then get their true story. Exactly. And Emileigh, yes. And so I love that. And I feel like sometimes when you hear these in the last, 10 years, you're hearing the real story for the first time, maybe, because it was 100% creative control for them.
Right on. Second time you're going deep there.
I'm sorry.
Do you want another?
A lot of coffee. I woke up quick and had a lot of coffee, and now I'm getting deep.
No, I mean, I really like. No, I really like it. I think it's really fresh.
Yeah. All right. So coming up here, I like to spin out to one of your tracks so that people get a chance to hear what we've been talking about and about it. And so I always like to ask you guys, and since I have both of you on here, I want to go one at a time to see if we get the same answer. Off of Venus Chariot, what is the track that you think really encapsulates it and you would like to spin out to?
It's the
I always go to Floodgates.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's well, then obviously that's the one to go with if you both agree. That's awesome. Yeah. Why Floodgates?
It just, because I'll listen to the whole collection of ours over and over, and every time that track comes on, it just lifts me. There's something about it. It's just magical. I love it. So yeah.
I love Floodgates because it's total freedom. And you can really hear it. It's total freedom. I mean, nobody cared about, oh, we can't do that in the industrial music scene. Oh, no, you can't do that. But this sounds wrong. Oh, that sound, you can't use it. No, Floodgates is first, it's total freedom on the musical point of view, and it's total freedom on the lyrics point of view also. And the melody that Emileigh did is just amazing. So it's just encapsulates all the creativity and freedom we had on Venus Chariot.
I'm excited. From us here at Sounds and Shadows, we will be splitting out to Floodgates. Thank you for joining us all here. Thank you so much, Emileigh and Jean-Marc. It's always a pleasure to talk to you. Everybody out there in the interweb land, keep it dark, yo.
Open up the floodgates. I'm coming in. Let me in. We've worked through what it takes. Let me in. I'm coming in. The river takes the noise we make. Not here today. I'm drifting anyway. The thoughts crawl in. The current winds. Recovered waves that have held us down too long. You know I feel your pain. It's turning faster. We'll never be the same. What's to explain? I'm coming in. Let me in. We've worked through what it takes. Let me in. I'm coming in. Open up the floodgates. I'm coming in. Let me in. what it takes. Let me in, I'm coming in. I'll crank it high, you brave fellows, knowing what's up ahead, that's really how it goes. The details wait, they're to expose. Our days riding away, are we just mourning? I'll crank it high, always see you brave fellows alive, knowing what's up ahead, that's really how it goes. As we're to, they're to expose, survive. Our days riding away, are we just mourning? Open up the floodgates, I'm going in. Let me in. I'll circle round this purple ground. The birds are singing with responses hunkering down. The worries take a glory state. We've stepped around the door. Are you too clever now? You know I feel their pain. No going back now. We'll never be the same.